Leo rising. How you doing, Leo? This is your reading for the Mars retrograde. It's happening in your sign and then moving into Cancer. Ishala diela, dishala moela maduela. Ishala dieni madufala dishania. Hello and welcome. My name's Chloe. I work with card divination, astrology, and as you just heard and as you saw, I channel multi-dimensional energies through my body, both in the form of physical and vocal light language. All of this will be happening throughout the reading to bring in attunement, healing, and activation codes to the messages that come through. Now I read for the rising signs. For those of you who don't have Leo in the first house in your natal chart, just look to what house it falls in that chart of yours. Right, look to the themes of that house, and you want to apply those themes along with all the other meaning you've got going on in Leo. Sun, moon, whatever's going on there, apply all of that to what comes through in this reading, because it will be as if that Leo energy, wherever it falls in your chart, has now energetically moved to the first house. And that applies to you if you don't know your time of birth as well, and you don't know where the houses are. It'll still be whatever you got going on in Leo has now moved to the first house. So when I break down the astrology for the rising sign, it will still link in. You just got to add on your natal chart meaning on top of it. Well, so this is going to be a very, very long transit. It's going to go on till the 2nd of May. Now, I've put in the description box all the dates and all the degrees of this transit. I've also done a 2-part series for the retrograde itself. Part 1 is cards, collective cards and tarot cards, oracle cards, all the cards for the retrograde, and then part 2 is the direct motion and the overall energy. Now I break down Mars in what the theme is with Mars in Leo, in Cancer, what's a retrograde about, what the bigger picture is, and all the kind of detailed energy around retrogrades and Mars as well in those. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about that. I'm going to be focusing on the houses and other things linked into your own personal chart in this reading. So there's going to be 3 piles of tarot. I'm also going to list what these are in the description box. The first pile is going to be the intention. There are going to be 3 cards. It's going to be the intention of the retrograde cycle in Leo, in Cancer, and then the overall combined intention. We're going to have a pile linked into the challenges. There's going to be a card for the challenge for the Leo segment, as well as how to work with that challenge, and then what's the challenge for the Cancer segment and how to work with it. So there's going to be 4 cards in pile 2, and then pile 3 is going to be the overall sort of outcome, right? 1 for the Leo, 1 for the Cancer, and then 3 for the combined. I'm also going to be pulling cards from 4 different oracle decks. We're going to have one that's going to remind us what we've forgotten, because retrogrades are going back and forth over old territory where we discover things that we may have missed. And I often find with retrogrades, because it brings nuance and depth to ourselves, that we're uncovering a deeper resource. And so one of the cards is going to help show us what we've forgotten. So you're going to see that energy show up in your transit. And so the more that you're aware of it, you're going to be able to sort of really amplify that energy. We're going to get a spirit guide as well. Not a spirit guide, sorry, an animal guide energy to channel during this whole transit. You know, Mars is very independent. It can be very primal, very instinctive. And so wanted to bring in the animals into this reading. We're also going to get a card that is about you know, the path, the overall path, and like it's going to help guide us along the path that's opened up for us, as well as a final card to sort of sum up the whole reading. Right, Leo risings. It's got initiated yesterday in the Americas, and well, on the 6th in the Americas and GMT. Tini maoto toe sheni madiela itoela di sheni moela ishini do fala. My brain completely froze then. Yeah, 6th for the Americas and GMT 0, then the rest of the world happening on the 7th. And it's in your sign, Leo, in the first house. And this is how you embody yourself, through your sun or your moon, depending on if you've got a day or a night chart, which luminary is the one providing wisdom to your ascendant, who is the navigator through the cosmic waters. It's the lens in which you move through the world on a personal level, right? Your embodiment, your actions, your deeds. It's the sense of self, your character, your body, and it's often how other people see you. It's an incredibly important house. Now, we haven't had a Mars retrograde in Leo with Cancer for a very, very long time. And I really like this combination of energy. So Mars is our motivation, our drive, our action. It also can represent conflict and accidents and the difficult energy, right? Mars is the god of war, but I also see Mars as the builder, the master builder. And so this is where we take action to create in the 3D realm. La discenia. Doscinia la diela, discini modo facinima la diela, ma doetiachanimo toela. And so Mars in the first, you're very much aligned with your instincts in terms of how you take action. With the retrograde, this is a slowing down, it's a yin energy, it's going inwards. We're going to not have all the answers. We've got to trust in the process now. We've got Mars, Mercury, Jupiter and Neptune all retrograde at the moment. So there is this real sense of bringing energy within ourselves. So it's a recalibration around your instincts, your motivation and drive from the sense of self. That is the core message for Mars. Now it's going to be bringing up old instincts, old trauma responses, old limiting beliefs, in order for work to work with them, as well as highlighting where you're headed in terms of your motivation, drive and instincts, and how you build in the world, how you understand yourself, how you move through the world, right? Mars is very much about movement. Get that blood pumping through your body. And so if you've had difficulties around motivation of who you are and how you want to be seen and what really matters to you, this is really going to realign that. And it's really going to, as I say, it's going to be potentially going to bring up conflict around how you're seen and your actions and your deeds, right? And this is really trying to get you to sort of not externalize how you move through the world based on other people's opinions. Leo is ruled by the sun, so while Mars is in Leo, wherever the sun is going to be governing what's going on with Mars. Let me just get up. I think it's only, 1 second. It's going to be just Sagittarius and Capricorn. So your creativity, your joy, and then moving into the adult in the room, how you work, how you figure things out. So those are going to be some big themes linked into this Mars transit. Itoela in Leo, Itoela dishinim, around your vision, right? Your sense of self, your illumination, your purpose, your will. Ila dianimo toela. Now, what I want to suggest overall, this is not just for the Leo energy. Look to where your Mars is in your natal chart. Look to the house that it's in, the sign that it's in, and the themes of that house and the flavor of that sign are going to be being activated. They're going to be influenced by what's going on with Mars, because Mars is always activating your natal Mars. So that's going to add on a personal understanding of what this Mars is all about. I happen to have Mars in the first house in the sign of Leo. I'm a Leo rising. You also want to look to what Mars is going to be going over in the Leo area of your chart, right? And this is going to be recalibrating those particular celestial bodies to the next stage of the way that you take action and where your motivation comes from. So there may be some wounds around whatever those celestial bodies represent around the motivation, drive and instinct that are going to come up in order, as I say, to be recalibrated and bring in a real stronger instinct through the heart space. Based on all the work that you've been doing since the last Mars retrograde, and that was in the sign of Gemini. Itinima dietinimo moyana. Dishani maduela. Dishani moyana. You also want to Mars is always going to be upgrading Scorpio and Aries. So you want to also look to those signs, and that's your fourth house of home, your roots, your foundations, as well as your perspectives and how you map yourself out in the world. So it's really going to be strengthening those energies based on your realignment with self and how you embody that and how you take action, feeling stronger in your roots, stronger in your foundations, stronger in your perspectives. But it's likely to bring up some difficulties, perhaps around parental figures and the ancestors, things you may have taken on from them in order to heal, that are no longer serving you, as well as distorted perspectives of like who you are on this planet, in this universe, all to take you further deeper into the truer resources of self. Also looking to where your sun is. I know this is a lot of information, because that is going to be activated by the sun, so you're going to get themes of that as well. And wherever your sun is always influencing the Leo chart. So you've got to think of Mars, where Mars is, what's going on with Mars, how Mars is influencing its own signs, as well as what's going on with the sun, who influences Leo, and where your sun is, which is always influencing your natal chart. And the sun. So that's the Leo area, and I like this sort of the recalibration of self that's then taking you into the sign of Cancer, which is all about, it's the 12th house, it's the hidden house, it's the house of mysteries. This is a difficult house. It's a wonderful house, but it's difficult. There's challenges here because it's the unconscious spaces, it's the hidden spaces, it's things going on behind the scenes, not necessarily visible. The unconscious realms often have trauma responses and limiting beliefs, and this is why this house can be linked into anxiety, depression, loss, grief, isolation, all of that good stuff. But underneath all of that is the magic of your soul. The 12th house, the 12th house is a very magical house, and it's the cosmic joke of the universe to put all of those layers of the unconscious things, the programmings, the love languages that we learn, the conditioning from the collective, from society, embedded in our unconscious, something that somebody said to you when you were 3 that's kind of stuck there and it's been influencing your whole life. The environment that you grew up in, right, that's sort of impinged there. Especially linked because we got Mars linking down to the 4th, and that we've got to peel back those layers in order to get to the magic of your soul. So Mars moving back into Cancer, it's going to spend most of its retrograde there, which means it's now being governed by the moon. So the moon cycles, and obviously the moon goes round and round and round the zodiac, and it is the fastest moving celestial body. And so you're going to be doing a full incorporation of all the signs and all the houses and your intuitive body around that, whether your needs are being met or not, how to give and receive nourishment, as well as your intuition and your emotions, right? That ebb and flow. And so we're going to have a real sort of transitory energy around Mars, as it works through the hidden layers, the unconscious responses, and the magic of your soul. You're going to notice through your actions, right? One thing with a Mars retrograde is to observe your actions, right? Really be in observer mode of like, what are you feeling drawn to do? What are you motivated to do? What are you not motivated to do? And that's going to highlight either poor impulses based on difficult energies, as well as where you're headed. Mars is very protective in Cancer, in a yin sign, and I really love it when Mars is in in Cancer, because it really is about tending to your emotional needs, being very protective of them, making sure that they're in alignment, making sure that you are nourishing yourself. You could see a lot of self-care with Mars moving through the 12th, tending to your anxiety, your depression, whatever it is that you're working through, and really being very nurturing and nourishing in the sign of Cancer, as well as heightening your intuition and your flow of figuring things out and activating the magic of your soul. And again, Mars is influencing the 4th and the 9th. Now, one of the key things that came through in the collective reading is that the sun is often linked into to the father, and the moon, the mother. Now, these aren't sex specific. They are just energies that we work with, that sort of masculine paternal energy and the feminine maternal energy, right? They're within all of us. But it is tying in. It is tying in with oh, by the way, these are all the oracle cards that I had out for the collective reading and the oracle reading, and I'm just keeping them on the desk to bring in that energy. So the wounds of the parents, right, the parental figures, however that manifests, that could also be really important in your life, who felt like that. It's not just linked into sort of the biological energy, obviously, but because, you know, Mars is ruling your fourth, which holds the energy of the parental figures as well as the ancestors, and so there's a real sense of healing a lot of the lineage that may have distorted, you know, from energies that may have distorted how you move through the world from your own independence. Mars is very independent. Mars also really likes a job to do, so make sure that, right, do what feels right for you, but in terms of the next however many months, try and focus on these themes and giving Mars practical jobs in order to sort of activate this energy. So it's really going to call you to go inward, take action behind the scenes. If you're building, you'll be rebuilding yourself from the unconscious level and behind the scenes, and you're not necessarily going to see things outwardly manifest obviously with a retrograde. God, there was something else that I wanted to say. Yeah, very intuitive, Mars in Cancer. Really allow yourself to be in a flow state and not press for answers, and then watch your actions just naturally be able to figure things out. Let go of control and be an observer. Be an observer with what's showing up to you, and then it's up to you how you then want to work with it on your own individual level. Obviously, look to where your moon is. I've got my moon in the 7th, because the themes of where your moon is always going to be influencing the sign of Cancer. And so those themes are going to probably play a very prominent role in highlighting what emotional responses are being healed, whether your needs are being met in that regard, how you give and receive nourishment, and Mars is recalibrating all that. So it's a real focus on you, Leo, right? And what's going on behind the scenes, and realigning to that soul magic energy, and then bringing it back into the first, because it's obviously then going to move back into Leo. As I said, it's this transit, like the whole cycle, isn't going to end until the 2nd of May. And the reason why that's so long is because we've got the retrograde phase, but then we've got the direct motion that's going over those degrees that it retrograded over. And it's not going to leave that. It's not going to go into 6 degrees and 11 minutes until the 2nd of May. And that's when the new cycle starts. And Mars retrograde happens the least amount of all the planets, right? And all the celestial bodies, and so it is really significant. It's a personal planet. As I said, it's your motivation, your drive, your action, your passions, right? You get up and go. And so we are really sort of with the sun and the moon, it's so personal. Our conscious and our unconscious spaces. It's such a powerful transit, and it's spending a lot of time opposite Pluto over in the sign of Aquarius. Today, Venus and the asteroid Ceres just moved into Aquarius. They're conjunct Pluto. Mars is opposite all of that. And so we've really got this strong sense of how do you build from an independent sense of self with the other, right? That's Aquarius for you. And this is going to be a big theme. I talk about and break down the astrology of each exact moment when in the 2-part series. 1, when Mars exactly goes retrograde. 2, when Mars moves into Cancer in its retrograde moment. 3, when Mars goes direct in Cancer. And then 4, when Mars moves back into Leo. So I break down all those stages and the astrology of those moments that then flavour what's going on with Mars. So if you want a real deep dive of this, go check out that 2-part series. I'm really quite proud of it. I thought the energy was really great coming through there. And as I said, this doesn't happen very often. And it's happening in your sign, Leo. Though to be fair, Mars retrograde's the most in the sign of Leo, which is fascinating. So we've got this opposition with Pluto, and it's still going to be, when it's in the late degrees of Cancer, it's still going to be opposing Pluto, just out of sign opposition. And so we've been working with this opposition before it was in Capricorn and Cancer, in a couple of the recent transits, and it's going to highlight potential distortions of power, right? And how we then take action with that. That could lead to obsession, possession, the idea of control, the sort of impinging on freedom. Now, all Pluto really wants is for you to be neutral about the cycles of life, death, and rebirth, and basically change. And so that's why it brings up all these really distorted power dynamics to make you think, well, do I actually want to engage in that, right? And so Pluto inherently with Mars is a recalibration to the universal truth within you and your instincts from the heart to be in alignment with the right use of power. But with it being over in the house of the other, right, this is one-on-one, really important relationships in your life. This can be business partners, one-on-one clients, therapist, really important friends in your life, like your ride or die friends, long-term committed romantic relationships, as well as source. The 7th house is linked into contracts, and that's where two energies come together with a level of commitment and integrity, because the opposition is ruled by Saturn, right? And so the first opposition we have in a chart is between the 1st and the 7th, right? And that's all about integrity, responsibility, due diligence, and legacy energy, right? So like longer term important energies in your life. And Pluto's going to be there for a while, guys. So you're remagnetizing your inherent universal frequency. That's the Aquarius energy, the higher perspective, the sort of the galactic council vibe, the angelic frequencies, although I do find that they're more Gemini. In regards to where have your actions been distorted because of the other, how can you get right with yourself and then co-create in a really healthy way where it's not prioritizing the other or prioritizing self in a way that's not facilitating, having healthy relationships in your life. And as I said, that's your relationship with source as well. So this whole cycle is very much about you. A recalibration of your instincts around the heart, a recalibration of your intuitive emotional body, reconnecting back to the magic of your soul, strengthening that connection through the way that you take action, what your motivation is, pulling back the layers of the unconscious, trauma responses, limiting beliefs, love languages, all of those things that have blocked the way that you find motivation, the way that you move, recalibrating back to the self in alignment. Then you're building healthier relationships with the other, as well as a focal point on your perspectives and how you map yourself out in the world and the strength of your foundations. Diala dishanimo tofiala itatatini mao la dianima otoela. I'm just going to summarize what to look for in your natal chart. Look to what in Leo from 6 degrees to 0 degrees Mars might be going over, and therefore that's going to have a stronger impact on those planets. Anything else you've got going on in Leo, that's still going to have an influence because Mars is still in the sign, but it may not be as powerful as things you have between 0 and 6 degrees. Same goes for Cancer. In terms of the Leo energy, look to the Sun transits at the moment. It's halfway through Sagittarius, and then it's going to be going through Capricorn. And so your creativity, your joy, your pleasure, your love, your amusement, your games, children, both literal children and inner child work is going to be very powerful, as well as 6th house Capricorn, the adult in the room, the mature energy, work, how you figure things out, routines, physical health, co-workers and therefore collaboration, pets and therefore acts of service. Those are going to be big themes of basically you leveling up your inner child, your creativity, your joy, in order for you to be more mature in the way that you work, taking care of yourself, being able to understand how you work and co-create. And all of this is influenced by what's going on in Aquarius at the moment, in terms of if you understand your 6th house, you can work together healthily in the 7th. That's all influencing up to the 6th of January with what's going on with Mars in the first, right? Of really getting back to the self, of your play, of the inner child, as well as the maturity of the wise figure who's able to feed themselves in a really healthy way, right? So that's going to be the major theme of Leo. Also look to where your sun is, the house that it's in, the sign that it's in, what's near the sun. The themes of your sun are going to be influencing what's going on as well in the sign of Leo. In the sign of Cancer, we are now being ruled by the moon. So again, sorry, I forgot to mention Mars influencing across the board your roots, your foundations, your ancestors, both blood and soul lineage, your parental figures, the roof over your head, your things you do in private. It's your structure, like the root system for your tree to grow in this lifetime. And the 9th house of your perspectives, how you map yourself out in the world, how you master things, how you learn at a higher level, right? How you share your perspectives, right? That's all being amplified and really sorted out by this Mars transit in both Leo and Cancer. So the moon's transits when from the 6th of January to, when does it move back into Leo? To the 18th of April. So that is a maths, two and a bit months. In Cancer, both retrograde and direct motion. And so the moon's transits for those times, the lunations are going to be really significant for Mars as well. So you're going to have the moon move through every sign, every house. This is really beautiful because it's a full integration of what's dampened your instincts and your motivation and drive in every area of your life that's been embedded in your unconscious realms. That's so beautiful, as well as the moon activating the magic of your soul and how it's then embedded into Mars as it then moves forward in the world, right? So it's really bringing in the magic and healing a lot of wounds. So where is your moon, what house it's in, what sign it's in, is also going to be influencing that Mars energy as well for that duration. You also want to look to where your Mars is. The themes of the house that it's in, the sign that it's in, is going to be really significant as well. You're going to see that added to what's going on in the 1st and the 12th. You know, if you want to do a bit more astrology and get really into the weeds, wherever your Mars is, you want to look to the ruler of that sign. It may be in a Mars ruled sign, and therefore you're getting a big Mars energy come through. So, for example, I've got Mars in the 1st, so it's ruled in sign of Leo, so it's ruled by the sun, and I have my sun in Virgo, and so the sun is influencing Mars from my 2nd house of how I value myself and my skills and my tools. Virgo is ruled by Mercury. I have Mercury in Leo, so I've got a feedback loop between Mercury and the sun influencing my natal Mars, and therefore those themes are coming into the Mars transit. So if you want to really get into the weeds, that's a great way of doing it. Right, I'm just going to pause for a second because I've got some astrological timings to do. I'm making so I make face and body creams. I'm doing it to be in alignment with the Ceres, Venus and Pluto conjunction that's happening right now. So I'm just going to pause. I'm going to come back and get on with your tarot. Hi Leo, apologies for the break in your transmission. Obviously, I appreciate that it's been no break for you at all. So let's get into the tarot. So we have the first card is the overall intention of this Mars retrograde. What's the root energy of what Mars is up to and what it wants to achieve? The second card is for the Leo energy. What's the root intention for the activation of Leo? And the third card is for Cancer. So we have, unsurprisingly, 3 major arcana. So we have Mercury for the root intention. The Magician. It is ruled by Mercury. And this is all about your capacity, your self-capacity to manifest in the 3D world, as above, so below, right? So think of that, as above, so below. So what's within you, right, is reflected externally. We all know that. And so this is so in alignment with the 1st and the 12th house of getting right of your inner world so you can then create and manifest as the magician in your outer world. So that's the combination of the Leo and Cancer energy of getting that in union with one another, right? So you're really able to harness all the resources around you in order to create, of bringing that magic into your reality. And it's, the magician is a very yang energy, right? It's the sense of taking action to create, right? The understanding of your environment and realizing that everything around you is a resource for you to create with. And that's really powerful because it gets us out of a scarcity mindset, and it really amplifies that when we're in union with ourselves, truly, madly, deeply, we are no longer in conflict, and therefore we're not separating. And therefore that's where the abundance comes in, because you then realize that by you being in union, everything around you gets into union. That's such a great card for the coming together of the Cancer and the Leo energy. And in the collective reading and the oracle reading, I combine them both. Mercury and Jupiter are influencing this transit quite significantly. So there is something around the way that we reorientate how we communicate via ourselves out into the world, as well as internally with ourselves. Like we're raising up our perspective. So for the Leo energy, we have the Hermit, which is Virgo. Right? So Virgo for you is in your second house of how you value yourself, your skills and your tools of how you manifest and bring in regular income. It's the things that you value. And as I said, most importantly, how you value yourself. If you don't value yourself truly, madly, deeply, then you prioritize things in terms of what you value that then represent that distortion. You can't quite tap into your skills and tools of manifesting in the world, right? Because you're not really confident in who you are, right? At the root. So what I really like with this is another sort of Mercury card. You know, Mercury rules Virgo, but it's tying in line with what the magician's up to, which is the overall theme of, through this process of recalibrating the self, you're going to come to a place of true value, a deep inner wisdom, right? That is the Hermit. The Hermit's on top of a mountain. Of all the tarot cards, it's at the highest point. But it's withdrawn from society. And what that represents is how you facilitate your own 3D experience without being controlled by what society's expectations are, what their perspectives are. That it's a very much the inner world that allows you to create your own environment and feel strong and in your own power, right? The Hermit is very independent in its energy. It is being guided by the star, which is the Aquarius card. And so there's something about the journey inward is helping you grow towards a stronger connection externally. So this is getting right with your inner wisdom, with your skills and your tools, your own sense of value, and embodying that in the way that you move through the world, right? So really allowing that sense of flow, right? That Cancer energy. I know this is the Leo, but to be able to sort of allow yourself, this very much feels like whatever ego energy is knocking around, and we all have it. I know I have it. That the Hermit is allowing the space for you to go inward and work through that. That's allowing more space for your true frequency to build and create with a stronger sense of value. And then we have the Devil in reverse for the Cancer energy. And now obviously this is Capricorn, and Capricorn's opposite Cancer. So there's a union, there's a release of bonds and binds and trappings that have stopped you from bringing the magic of your soul in the way you manifest in the 3D, in terms of the way that you work and the way that you take care of yourself. If we bring in the 12th and the 6th house axis, this is also you bringing the magic of the soul into the way that you work, so you can create from a higher plane beyond the more traditional limitations of the devil. But if we take Capricorn out of it and just focus on the 12th house where Cancer is for you, this is a release of those limiting beliefs, those unconscious responses that have stopped you from being able to move and create in the world from your own frequency. This is like addiction issues. I remember We've got the moon being activated, so this can be where we nourish ourselves in ways that are based on sort of trauma responses that show up as addiction. And remember, Mars in Leo is setting the way for that, with the sun being in Sagittarius, which is doing some big work around your inner child, right? Think of those unconscious realms where we can have blueprints in there that keep us bound and we're not necessarily aware of it. We're having a good time and we think everything's going well, but there's something deeper underground that's like keeping us fixed in a certain position rather than evolving and growing, but it's come in reverse, right? So this is the release of those bonds with the transit in Cancer. I'm just going to put the Magician at the top to bring in the Magician. I'm trying to remember, this is Dishani. No, they were upside down. Dishani. Right. So Dialama Dishani. We have the challenge and how to work with it for the Leo part of the retrograde, and we do in fact have the star in reverse, Itoe la Dishania, and the world in reverse. So the challenge is the star in reverse, that block around perhaps, as I said, the issues with the other, right? Whether you are externalizing who you are outwardly. There may be an imbalance between co-creating and building and working one-on-one that's just sort of maybe dipped your motivation, your drive, your instincts. You know, the star traditionally is about deep healing, right? This sense of bringing your earthly realm and the galactic energy together and healing at a very powerful space. You know, the star, she's unclothed, and interestingly, I think these are the two only cards that are unclothed, and this is a real sense of freedom, right? Of pulling back the masks of who are you, right? And really separating yourself from the illusions of how we've played certain roles that no longer serve us, right? And that sort of, are we authentic in ourselves when we show up with the other? Are we authentic with ourselves when we show up in the world? So the challenge is the star in reverse, right? The sort of, the challenge of the retrograde is perhaps you not allowing yourself time to pause and heal, right? And so this is calling you to do so. You being, I don't want to say fake's too strong of a word. We all have masks for various reasons, often to keep us safe, right? Where are their masks? Where are you blocked from being your authentic self, and why, right? And also, where are you struggling to integrate the sort of more galactic energy into the 3D realm? You know, again, lots of major arcana here, Leo. Not surprised. How to work with it. The world in reverse. Not going out into the world. This is about, again, really going inward. And, you know, it's doubling down the message of what the challenge is and then how to work with it is where are you not yourself? Where are there niggles where you don't truly know yourself and you don't truly embody that as you go out into the world? And spend some time in meditation, spend some time in practice of trying to bring that in, or simply observing your actions of where there may be blockages in the movement that you have, right? In your motivation, your drive, right? Where have you not got perhaps what you've needed from the outside world? It's going to asking you to reflect on where those blocks are, and that's going to help move the energy in your body. Now the world has all 4 fixed signs in it, and you have that in your 1st of self, your 4th of home and roots, your 7th of other, and your 10th of life purpose and career. So lots of big themes to focus on about why you might not be showing up in your authentic energy, right? This may be family that have, you know, don't necessarily agree with what you're doing. This may be not knowing where you're headed in your life purpose, not having romantic relationships or close, intimate friendships, or whatever it is that just have dampened your spirits. Okay, I just wanted to cut the deck to get another card with that. And we got the 5 of Cups in reverse. So this is saying that you may... So when I was saying that, it's not to like fall into the spiral, but release the energy, because we've got the 5 of Cups in reverse. Five of Cups in the upright is about grief, of looking at flow and joy and abundance, and that it's lost and it's no longer here. And the five, this figure doesn't realize that the Two of Cups are already there, that sense of union within yourself. So it's calling you to focus on the energy of the Five of Cups in reverse, right? That you're not in this grief space around previous experiences, that there is a new frequency that's coming in. And all of this is asking you is to allow yourself some love and compassion to focus on these things in order for them to be released. With the mindset of that Five of Cups. Now, in the Cancer area of the chart, we have the Queen of Wands and the Sun. So the Queen of Wands is the challenge, and she's in the upright. So there's this sense of your instincts, your independence, this sense of fast moving energy that isn't allowing yourself the space to go into your emotional body, right? All that fire kind of blocking your capacity to see what are your emotions telling you. What is that sense of deep nourishment that is being called, right? That sense of pause, that patience. And I'm also getting another message through with this, that the challenge is, right, of where your emotions have stopped you from nourishing your instincts to go beyond the trauma responses, beyond the limiting beliefs, right? So it's two-pronged, and it often is the way with this energy. That the Queen of Wands she's holding a sunflower, so she's always able to go towards the light. In fact, she came up in the collective reading. And there's something around what's blocked you from following that light, of being able to get to embody the Queen of Wands. So I'm seeing it as one, the Queen of Wands blocking your capacity to connect to your emotional body, as well as two, what emotions are stopping you from truly embodying your instincts and you embodying the fullness of the Queen of Wands. How to work with this energy, the Sun. Now, you see here, this child is free, is happy, again, quite unclothed. So you've got all the unclothed cards, that sense of getting back to the truth of you. But this is your inner child. So it's asking you to focus on healing the inner child wound, of following that sunflower again, of finding the light, seeing the vision, having a more positive outlook on how when you're engaging in the blocks and in the struggles, right? And this is the biggest yes card. It's one of your cards, Leo. And there's a sense of allowing the rays of that sun to permeate throughout your energetic field, through your emotional body. As I said, you may want to do some little rituals with your inner child to heal that emotional body and bring that light into the darkness, right, of the hidden realms of the 12th, and shine a light on perhaps some big monsters in there that your inner child is a bit scared of, but you're now in a position to be able to tackle it. Also shining that joy, shining that light on the unconscious sort of magical realms that you have within you. So to work with it, we've got the Four of Wands in reverse, and this is where you feel like you've been blocked, right? Where you've put in the work, but you haven't been able to celebrate. There haven't been things to celebrate. And with that Sun, it's saying, one, acknowledge these things to do the inner work, as well as focus, create more space for celebration for yourself, right? So that you got the so there's definitely a theme around being able to work with the shadow as well as embodying the light at the same time. Now, the outcome. Sorry, I always have to move them around because they come out in a different order to hold them. We have the Page of Pentacles, the Hanged Man in reverse, and the Nine of Pentacles. Love this new way of understanding your 3D environment, of how you're processing that information, learning that information, sharing that information, new opportunities, new experiences, new ways of communicating. That's very grounded, very stable, very present on the 3D, very embodied. Itala dishani motoela. After all of this work of yourself, aligned with your magical reality of your soul, bringing it all together and putting it out into the world with the magician, which is really going to create more experiences and more opportunities. Itoela dishani motofiela. Hanged Man in reverse. This is you gaining the wisdom. You've gained the wisdom. Your perspective is elevated. Only Halo in tarot. And there's a real sense of now taking that wisdom out on the road, right? That real sense of awareness of this new perspective that's come in. And I love the Pentacles because it's really saying that it's going to be embodied and it's going to show up in your 3D realm. It's going to be really practical and actually assist you. We've got the Nine of Pentacles. This figure is Venus in Virgo. This figure knows what they need to do in order to make the right decisions that serve a holistic life, home and work, friends, family, all of the things. They also know when to say no. They know, and then they know what they need to do, right? They have the intuition. They know how to connect and build and create. So very, as I said, very independent energy. It's the Empress card is the next one up from this, really. So this is very confident, being able to manifest and create abundance in your environment because of the deep healing you're doing in the 12th, and then embodying the lessons and the wisdom that you've learned from in the first each. And this is shifting your perspective and your root system, right? And wherever your Mars is, like strengthening your root system and your perspective so you can create, right? I really like those Pentacles showing up. Speaking of Pentacles, at the bottom of the deck is the King of Pentacles. So the Empress and the King of Pentacles both hold the golden scepter. So this is the high level creation abundance energy. Now the King of Pentacles knows that every act that you do is an act of abundance and an act of creation. And because it has that mindset, that clarity, that sovereignty of how it looks at the world and then how it takes action in the world, it is then that is then recreated in its environment. I mean, you look at that massive castle, right? We've also got all those grapes and quite a fancy crown that the king is able to build with now. So that's the root energy that's coming through. And I really like those Pentacles showing up. So we have the Oracle cards. We have from Amy Miranda's Oracle book called What We've Forgotten. And instead of that, it's what are we remembering with this retrograde? Remember, we're going back and forth over the same energy. So we're digging things up that may have been hidden. We're remembering, we're revising, revisiting. And when we do that, we get to a heightened level of depth, right? That allows some more powerful frequencies to come through. So what you're remembering is the soul, engaging the soul. When we begin to remember and begin to shift from ego to soul, we get to choose every single day down to the moment. We get to decide who is talking and who is in charge. Odds are your soul has likely been doing this whole life thing a lot longer than your ego. Your body and whatever iteration you're in now has ever been a thing. We can trust the soul to let us know when it needs some reinforcement. Unlike the ego, it won't lie to you about how it's doing. The odds are that your ego has been doing all kinds of stuff it's not even qualified for. The soul is the connective tissue between the physical body and the spiritual self. Very first 12th house. It is our tether to home, the seed of our star stuff. It's much gentler than the ego because it has no worries. That's what happens when you have the ancient divine intelligence. That kind of experience tends to calm the nerves. This is the message now for the week ahead. Ask your soul, can you step to the front? Can you take it from here? Can you captain this vessel? Can you take me where I'm meant to be? Can you help me remember? If you want to do this exercise in front of a mirror, feel free. Look into your own eyes, past your irises and pupils, into the space that few people know, but everyone can see, and ask your beautiful soul to step forward. Ooh! So this is what's being unearthed. What we're remembering is our connection to our soul and the capacity to work together. And that's so in alignment with the 12th house of the magic of your soul coming through into the embodiment of self. Di tini, di shana di anima, ot, ushanima. Now, next up we have from Kim Kranz's Animal Spirit Oracle, Itoenia, di shini. So I'm just getting to find it. We have the wolf. So this is your spirit animal to channel during this retrograde, and we have, again, very powerful. And it's interesting, you know, what it said about looking at yourself in the mirror, and it through the eyes, that this next card is now staring directly at you. So you might want to envisage that wolf in the mirror. Itoela dishinia, guardian of family and tribe, activism, ritual. The wolf's mission is to uphold the well-being and longevity of the pack. Healthy wolf energy expresses itself through activism, mentorship, humanitarian efforts, or teaching, religious or political studies. The wolf gets into trouble when it assumes every member of the tribe must follow suit. This includes children walking in their parents' footsteps. Although it will surely be uncomfortable at first, practicing tolerance helps balance out agitated wolf energy, helps balance out agitated wolf energy. Contemplate the following: embrace all, exclude none. When in balance, reliable, democratic, fearless. When out of balance, judgmental, dominating. To bring into balance, practice letting go. So for some of you, it might be that you have children and this is something that you've got a wound over. I do feel like it's the inner child. So a lot of what came through because of the sun and the moon of healing, and I think I said in the reading already, of healing of the maternal and the paternal wound. And I feel like this is what this is calling you to do, right? Of this sense of releasing perhaps any internalized judgments you feel from them within yourself, that you are then acting as this sort of this wolf that is struggling to break out of the pack and allow yourself to break out of the pack because of the conditioning. Embrace all, exclude none. I also feel like this is making peace with all the different versions of yourself that you maybe have been in conflict with. Mars is very much about conflict and healing those wounds, healing part of all the hidden parts and the outward parts, and really getting out of judgment and really amplifying this sense of egalitarianism. And that's what activism's all about, of the desire to bring an egalitarian world to the forefront. I also very much feel like the work that you're doing in this journey is serving not only yourself but your lineage and your ancestors and your family. Remember, your fourth house is being activated. So there's a sense of pride in who you are and where you come from and where you're headed. That's soothing wounds by activating this expansion energy of the wolf, of letting go of expectations, of certain traditions, of dogma that you can hold within yourself that perhaps you've internalized from the ancestors, from your parental figures, that this guardianship is saying there's something within you that's asking you to do this. That serves not just you, but all those who may follow you and all those that have come before you. Okay, so how to support us along the path, right? We have Sky Dancers, Surrender, and this is from the Shaman's Dream Oracle. All the decks are in the description box. This is so funny. Liberation from attachment, right? There we go. We've got the wolf. And it also can be like how you embody yourself, that you feel that there are parts of you that, are not in line and not in step with what it is that you think you need to do. And the real making peace with the self and all its many iterations, the inner child, all of that is just... It's as I said, it's taking you out of conflict. Remember, the opposition with Pluto is really powerful of getting us into a state of neutrality. Surrender. When a sky dancer appears, she is inviting you to welcome the deepest power of the feminine into your life. You've already overanalyzed your situation to exhaustion. Now is the time to invite the sacred feminine, the wisdom within your heart, no matter your gender, to guide you to success. If you have become earthbound, plodding and planning and praying for change, cease and desist. Break the habit of being yourself, of repeating the same behavior, and hoping for a different outcome. Stop trying to figure it all out and stop overthinking it. Surrender. The sky dances are heralding the arrival of a new relationship with yourself. Perfect. In your work or in your love life. Do not assume that this person or opportunity will rescue you. That's the oppositions over in the 7th, when we can sort of externalize how we move through the world, our need to be saved by the other, right? By source. I mean, source is already doing it just inherently, but the only way to liberation is to kiss the ground goodbye and take flight, to rise above the fray and the drama of the struggling, arguing mind, dance in the sky and view the madness below. By simply witnessing the actors and the human comedy unfolding on the ground, you are transforming it. As you observe the drama, you unleash the power of the sacred feminine that allows for resolution. Right, I love how this is pretty much summing up what I said about the wolf. That's beautiful. I love it when there's repetitions, because it's just doubling down on the message. The sky dancers know the maps of heaven and the way to the holiest and most sacred spaces on earth. They come to help you with your current life, and even more importantly, to guide you to the realization of your own divinity. Well, Leo, final card. We got a final card coming up. Lol, just seeing what it said. This is from Rainbow Brain Skull, and I really like this deck. It's one of my favorites at the moment. Take break from small hell you've designed for yourself. Oh, this is so relevant. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is an option. I'm going to say that again. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is an option. Why do you insist on suffering? Try joy for at least a little bit. You never know, it might just suit you. That's coming up with the Sun card and that 5 of Cups in reverse. And that 4 of Wands of like, God damn, like seeing objectively, right? Having Virgo in the 2nd really allows you to do that. That there are perhaps certain things that you think you can't celebrate, probably because of what this wolf is trying to teach you, of what you've internalized from parental figures or ancestors that have blocked in your unconscious of your capacity to celebrate your own journey. Cannot tell you how much the beginning of this retrograde is linked into the Sagittarius new moon. Very similar energy, and that Sagittarius new moon, still live, 6-month cycles, if you want to go check it out. Very much about the confidence to walk your own path, regardless of whether it seems productive, regardless whether it's ticking social norms. Find the joy, Leo. Get out of your head. Get into your body and do a little dance. Find the joy. Find the joy and allow that inner child to dance with you. Well, Leo, I hope you enjoyed this reading. I hope it resonated. If it did, hit that like button. It brings me a lot of joy. That could be your first act of bringing the joy in. If you want a personal reading, perhaps a deep dive even further on this is a big retrograde for you, Leo. I mean, you had Mercury and Venus. Oh, I forgot to say this in the collective reading. God damn. Mercury and Venus retrograde last year in the sign of Leo. So you've got the three personal planets in 2 years. Well, just over a year and a bit. Wild Leo. So this is the final boost to help facilitate what's going on with Pluto over in Aquarius. Anyway, if you want a deeper dive, my details are everywhere. I've got a website you can book via there. If you want to pay by PayPal, email me directly. Other than that, Leo, be good to yourselves. Be good to those around you. Safe travels. And be well until we meet again.